Hey everyone, here we are for Worthiness Matters Day number 29 of our 30-day joy-based spirituality workout series. And today I want to talk about sadness, anger, spirituality, and healing. Ooh, sounds heavy duty, huh? So one of the things that I've noticed when people are healing from any kind of emotional trauma is that there are two things that they need to walk through, which are going to be uncomfortable for sure, pretty much for sure. And when they do that, a paradox of spirituality can show up. What you want to make sure that you do is that you don't let spiritual ideals stop you from feeling what you need to feel so that you can release whatever's inside of you and clear that space inside of you so that you could be more present to life. So, what are those two things? Sadness and anger. When sadness is stuffed or repressed, or when there's too much sadness in the form of self pity or something like that, what you want to do in the healing process, and this is wonderfully spelled out by Pete Walker in his book called "The Tao of Fully Feeling." What you want to do is as you start separating yourself from situations or from boundaries that are no longer serving you, and you start creating a new way of being, sometimes without the people that were with you before, and sometimes it's just a shift in the relationship. You may experience moments or long moments or days or, a longer period of time of sadness rising up. Now, if you feel bad about that, you're going to stuff it back down. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to honor the sadness. You want to turn toward it with compassion so that it can be released. Now, one of the wonderful people that I've been working with over the last few months, she went through this a few months ago. And every time she would feel it, um, me and someone else who's kind of like in the background supporting her and cheering her on, we're like, it's okay, you're going to get through this, we promise. And she has access to therapy and all these other things, and so this is not a replacement. If you need help, get freaking help, okay? I'm just letting you know what the healing process can be like in a really healthy way, um for somebody who was able to receive it in a healthy way. And as we went on, her kids were like, "What's going on? Are you okay, mom? Are you okay?" And she would go, "I'm rebirthing. I'm rebirthing into a new self." And she would feel a little bit like freaking out again. And we're like, "Okay, you're okay. You're doing great. You're doing great." Because we could tell that the healing that was happening for her was the fact that she wasn't trying to run from herself anymore. She wasn't abandoning herself anymore the way that she had been abandoned so many times by so many people, especially on the level of emotions, especially in the mode of sadness. You're not supposed to be sad. You're weak if you're sad. Oh my goodness. Woo, that's like cruelty to human beings. And so after some time, the waves of sadness passed because she stopped shaming herself and judging herself for having those feelings. Well, then, anger started rising up, and she's like, "Oh, no," and we're like, "Oh, no, this is so good." Well, from the sadness, she learned to have compassion for herself. She learned to you know, really nurture herself more and be kinder to herself. She learned to recognize how she was treating herself on the inside, and, she learned to change that and to be softer and sweeter and more nourishing toward herself. And anger started coming up, and her kids were like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "I'm just getting through this." And so she would do it in ways that were as responsible as possible. So, not using physical violence or anything like that. Just, sometimes feeling like she was losing control. But what she was doing was learning how to assert boundaries that she never learned how to assert before. And so her kids were like, "What in the world is going on?" They're kinda, like, freaking out. And she's basically like, "Look, if you can't behave yourself, I'm just going to set some limits here." And she started putting, like, positive things into their world and started unifying the family in a way that said, we want to be a happy family, right? Okay, so she would start bringing things into that, and then to make that atmosphere more like that, and bringing words and activities that would enhance that. And that gives a lot to a relationship. And then if she needs to set a boundary and just kind of like, no, that's not cool, we're not going to just go along with what you want to do for having a after you're having a temper tantrum. um you know, the kids get to learn that mama's in charge. The kids get to learn that they're safe. The kids get to learn that that there are ways of being with other people that are healthy. And so she's coming to the other side of that anger now, and it's just really fun because it's like, wow, before she would just let everybody push her over, and now she's like, and I don't think so, 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 no matter who it is, and respectfully, kindly, but strongly when necessary. Um, and it's really fun watching her. It's like watching a plant flower and dig their roots really deep and go, this is me. This is what I need to feel healthy and good in the world. Now, I told you we were going to talk about sadness, anger, spirituality, and healing. I want to remind you that within joy based living, we have a trifecta, the JBL trifecta, and it includes trauma awareness, spiritual connection, and peak performance. There are paradoxes inside of all this because there's for example, some spiritual teachers I really like to listen to, and they're like, we're all one. And if you look in the lake and you only see your reflection and you don't see the lake, that's like a form of narcissism. And don't just be looking for yourself in everything, in every single thing. Look beyond it. Look and feel the whole world and all the oneness and all the unification. And I have to tell you, I've been to some of these teachers pieces of property, a temple or an ashram or whatever. I'm kind of an explorer that way. I really really like doing that, especially if the grounds are beautiful and just walking around and taking in the experience. um, Makes me feel like I belong in the world, like I feel inclusive to all these places. Well, let me tell you something. These places are very well boundaried. You're allowed in this building from this time to that time. This building is closed for these kind of people, that like you can't. And they're kind about it, but they're pretty firm about it. So yes, we're all one. And and this is where spirituality can, if it's not used in a healthy way, you can end up using it to override your own sense of boundaries. And you can use it to go, well, I shouldn't feel sad. Well, I shouldn't feel angry because a spiritual person wouldn't feel sad and angry. And I'm like, F that shit. So, if that's where I am right now and I like let it flow through, anger is there to assert a boundary usually. And sometimes the boundary is within myself that needs to be asserted. Sadness is there to come up and wash something through. Your job is to feel it and not stuff it, and to let it flow, and to be the one holding holding the space. Is I've liked that word, but it's even gentler than that. It's just stepping back and just letting it be. Just letting it be. Just the way you let the clouds in the sky, you let them be. I went to dig some soil today. I didn't realize how many bugs live in soil. I was a little freaked out by it, actually. Um, those of you who are gardeners are probably laughing at me right now. But that's just where life is. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And all of a sudden, like this little 3-year-old popped out in me. Like, how like little kids are like curious about everything. I was like, wow, those are interesting. I've never seen bugs like that before. They're living under the ground, under the beautiful moss, and they're there all the time. So letting it be, welcoming life for what it is, that's it. That's important. And setting boundaries are important. And allowing yourself to be who you are as you are is important. And as you as you do these practices, even though they're paradoxical at times, like, wait, if we're all one, why should I have to set boundaries? Um, those kind of paradoxes, both are true. Um, you will start to feel more at home in your own skin. You will start to feel more of your sense of your own worth, and you are a unique aspect of this universe. You are a unique little snowflake. Um, and worthiness is an inherent part of who you are. It's so important that I've taken the time to do this series to remind you of that, to reinforce that in you, and in myself as well. These are important messages. There's a reason Mr. Rogers was so popular. He just kept telling people, you're really special, just the way you are. And so I think that's a really beautiful note to end on. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon for day number 30 to close our series. Bye for now.